Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy Sunday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What a beautiful day. Hello. Hi Jeff. You need to send me a request. Here we go. Hi everyone. Happy Sunday. Oh, hi Jeff.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We just finished our webinar. I think I had a mixed up time zone.
Mm,
Yeah. So it's a beautiful Sunday, raining.
it's raining.
Yeah. Don't you
Is it?
have rain there?
I don't see it, but maybe it's just really fine. I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't been
it's
outside yet.
yeah, yeah, it's raining, a little bit drizzle, and it's kind of
Mm,
chilly. So I think we're getting back into, I was thinking, should we turn on the heater or
mm.
hi Mersad, hi Hardis, hello Ida, welcome, welcome, welcome. So today is going to be really exciting. What are we talking about today, Jeff?
Today we're going to talk about conflict and the cause of
Ooh.
conflict.
That's a great topic. Hi, Mershad. Welcome. Hi,
Mm.
Shaheen. Hi, Roz. Welcome, everybody. So let's get into it, Jeff.
Why don't you start? I mean, I have my thoughts and opinions on the matter, and my experience and research. And why don't we start with you? What do you believe is the cause of all conflict? And well, I'll preface it with this, that conflict is a big word. This is not, when we think of conflict, we don't just look at war. We look at any time you have groups, anytime you have individuals. So you could have religion versus religion on a really big scale, or country versus country. You could also have men versus women. You could have a person versus a person, right? Child versus parent, siblings. Conflict happens everywhere, every day. So, what is it, and what can we do about it? So, why don't you kick off your thoughts?
Okay. Well, I believe conflict is when the way I look at it is when we are in between the duality of ego mind and heart and soul. So my heart and soul is having a mission and it's pre-planned. Our soul has chosen what classes, what lessons, what learning, what do I want to experience, um, what do I want to create, and is already planned all of that. Probably because when I'm coming from my soul part, I'm able and capable to create anything. And I'm so excited because at this time and journey, I want to experience so many things because I see how capable I am as a creator to not just do one thing, but have multiple experiences. But then again, when it comes to mind ego, I have all these self beliefs that I'm not good at this. And my mind is highlighting what I'm not good at, or what are the barriers, or what I cannot do, and what I'm not good at. And all those beliefs, pretty much the wrong beliefs that I have. So I think the conflict is between these two parts of me. That one part is just know it all, has the whole capability, and wants to create so many multiple things. And the other part is just like gas and stop, gas and stop. and then I'm standing here in between, and I'm thinking, what voice do I really should listen to? What is correct? Is it this way or is it that way? If I can do all this thing and I have all these wishes and dreams, so what is the one, what part is that keep pushing the pedals and putting the stop? And then I get like in between all these things that I can't do this and I can't be this. And of course I cannot have, that's way too much. So that's, to put it in a short couple of sentences, I think that's the main conflict.
So what I heard from you, unless I'm wrong, what I got from you was pretty much talking about internal conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're talking about you, everything that I heard you say seemed to be occurring with inside you. Is that correct? So you were saying, I have this heart mission and my heart is moving in this direction and everything that my heart wants to do, but then there's my ego mind, excuse me, and your ego mind is the one that is in conflict with your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Did I hear
Yeah.
that correctly? Okay, so there are, interestingly, I can see the same thing occurring for internal conflict as I do for external conflict. Because as I had said, I talked about more external conflict between
Mm-hmm.
religions, countries, race, gender, etc., and individuals. And there's kind of two things that really are the same. It's just how deep do you want to go, because they're each their own layer. And the first, the kind of big answer to all of it is the machinery. The machinery. The machinery that makes us up. It's all of the experiences that we have had throughout life that inform us how to survive. Because that's really our number one concern as an animal, is to survive.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, if we weren't concerned with our survival, we'd go walking off cliffs because we thought the sky looked pretty and we wanted to try and grab it. Right? So survival is a very good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And at a deeper root than that is fear. But fear is, I think, survival is really at the base level. We are a biological animal. We are concerned with surviving and procreating. And that generates fear mechanisms. And then the
Mm-hmm.
fear mechanisms start to form the machinery that we look at the world through. And that is where what happens is, I like the word agreement. We
Mm-hmm.
used that word in our last discussion when we were talking about when people ignore us. And I said, well, if you want to stand for somebody that's ignoring you, to be reconnected to that person, there's not going to be any agreement for that. Everybody's going to say, forget that person, they're terrible, they're ignoring you. If they wanted you in their life, they'd reach out, etc., etc., etc. So I like the word agreement, because often when we get into conflict,
Mm-hmm.
we tend to look for agreement. Men look for agreement from other men why women are wrong. Women look for agreement from other women why men are wrong. Religions against each other. Everybody gets a lot of agreement. And this also happens internally, correct? Like when you are having a heart mission and you have this conflict between your heart, your emotions, and your thinking ego, your ego is looking for agreement. We call that confirmation bias. That's the psychological term. It's pretty common. Most people know that term these days, because I think people should know a small handful of, psychological terms. But confirmation bias is where you say, like you said, my ego mind says, well, I'm not good enough to do this. And then you look for agreement in the world. I'm not good enough, right, Jeff? Right? I'm not good enough. Yeah, Sudi, you're not good enough. You shouldn't do that, right? So you're looking for that agreement. And then when you get agreement in the world, you don't take that action that your heart was set on. And if you if you do get agreement, it's terrible because you miss out on life in a lot of ways. But if you also if you don't get agreement, then I think that causes a lot of conflict because you are left up to your own when sometimes you were looking for outside advice. I get advice for things all the time. I talk to you about stuff. I talk to friends about stuff. And, interestingly, I've surrounded myself with a lot of people who don't agree with me. So that causes me to fight for the things that I want to fight for and really kind of see if I want them. But anyway, not to get off topic, that to me is what really is the cause of conflict is our machinery. And a layer below that is fear. A layer below that is just survival. It's all about protecting us. What do you think about that?
Mm-hmm. I did a joint live with Dorsa on Friday, and I was talking about why we don't get to follow our dreams and do everything that we say we do, even though we schedule our day and we say, I'm going to do this and this and that, and we have our to-do list. But then at the end, maybe in between, when I highlight a couple of things that I have done, it makes me feel good. But then at the end, I look at my to-do list and I see, oops, I only did 5 of them. And here in my list, I have 20 things that I was supposed to do. And that again makes me feel bad because I didn't get to achieve everything that I was planning on doing, right? So I said, what's stopping us from doing it is that ego mind part that becomes unease, and it gets bored and creates this conflict that, oh yeah, I want to do this task right now. But then again, that inner conflicts from the ego mind comes up that I'm bored, but I don't want to do this right now. This is too boring. I want something that is more exciting, something that it has more colors and movements. And how about if I get and check my Instagram just for 5 minutes and see what's going on? And then I get on Instagram and I see all these other people who are up there, and it's, oh, this one is dancing and that one is doing this and that. And it's so fast moving and so entertaining that instead of 5 minutes, I got distracted and I lost an hour, right? And then I feel, but the same ego mind that told me at the beginning that this is too boring and let me concentrate and do something else, the same ego mind gets me to feel bad and telling me that, oops, you lost an hour, you're not good enough, you see, you can't even concentrate and finish your task. So I said, instead of just allowing the ego mind to take over and over and over and make me feel bad, instead I come to myself and I pay attention to that inner conflict, that voice, that feeling that is not satisfied with what the task is, to concentrate on this task and finish it up. So I said, instead of saying no to your ego mind, tell your ego mind, and I understand that you don't find this amusing and exciting right now, but don't say just no, we're not going to do that. Kind of trick your ego mind and say, okay, we're going to do it, but not just now. Let's take 10 minutes and make that 10-minute rules and say, for 10 minutes, we're going to continue no matter how boring you think this is, or, it's not amusing. Let's give ourselves 10 minutes to concentrate, fully be present, and do this task. And then after 10 minutes, we're going to get to do whatever you want. We can just browse the social media or do this and that. So that inner conflict is constantly showing up. But instead of us getting into it, I mean, that's the whole thing of meditation and that stuff, that as soon as you sit down, the ego mind becomes overactive. And while I'm aware, by knowing that this is how this machine, the mind and the ego operates, I just delay giving into it and say, hey, look, let's stop right now. Let's concentrate and do this. Be mindful for 10 minutes. We do this. And then after this 10 minutes, I'm going to do what you wish to do. And then generally, if we can contain that 10 minutes of fully concentration, we probably continue doing it for longer. Then you catch yourself and you can keep on, talking to your ego mind. Oh, see how great we were. Let's continue another 10 minutes. How about if we continue doing that for another 10 minutes? So basically, it's that we're dealing with the inner conflict, and the inner conflict is, for all of us, is there because it's the part of how this machine, the mind and the ego operates. So to me, in order to overcome this boredom, to overcome this distraction, by realizing that this is how this machine works and operates, and we continue doing what we're doing.
Sure. I think that in there is a very fundamental occurrence, which is that there's a couple things in there that I want to touch on. And one is that we fundamentally move towards things that we enjoy, that give us pleasure, and we move away from painful things. So that gets to associations of what to us occurs as painful in our lives and what occurs to us as good or positive, or positive and positivity and negativity, right? What occurs as negative, what occurs as positive. And part of what you're saying is simple procrastination. It's a distraction. And so it's the task at hand that we need to accomplish occurs as negative, as painful in some degree. So getting distracted is a very, very simple remedy for that, because you get pleasure to whatever degree by getting on social media for what's supposed to be 5 minutes, then it becomes 10, then it becomes an hour. Then the second component is you end up, like you said, you feel bad. You kind of punish yourself. You make yourself wrong. I shouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, again, whether internally or externally, this punishment element is very significant, because when we, for me, the word that I've used for a long time but this is more external than it is internal. The word that I've settled on for a long time is self-righteousness. So to me, self-righteousness is the cause of all conflict. Well, there's a couple things that cause self-righteousness, but even internally, it's that righteousness towards yourself. It's like your ego's self-righteousness towards your heart. And that's where you get distracted, you make yourself wrong, you have all the fear about your failure, and then you're like, see, I told you so. And then you get distracted, you get on social media for an hour instead of 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then you beat yourself up. And we continue this cycle every single day. We do it to ourselves, we do it to other people. That's why they call it a vicious cycle. It's
Mm-hmm.
very hard to notice these things, and it's very hard to accept these things. And it's interesting because when a lot of people I think a lot of people pursue a more spiritual, especially right now in the last kind of 10 years, especially 5 years, people are pursuing a more general spiritual existence. They're getting into yoga more and more. They're meditating more and more, going to retreats more and more. Whatever it is that they're doing, it's becoming a more wide a significant part of society. There do seem to be a number of people that are getting more interested in psychology, and I think that it's important to kind of go down both roads and pursue both, because if we don't pursue the physical, which is the psychology, really analyzing the survival mechanisms that make us up, then I think that we still have that machinery in place in
Mm-hmm.
our spiritual pursuits. So that occurs to me like a lot of people who claim to be very spiritual, they claim to be woke, they claim to be awakened, or however they want to say it. Most people say, I'm woke, but this awakened being. And it's like, well, what do you think that awakened being is? And you can see all of this machinery still operating. And it's like, for a number of people that believe that they're these enlightened individuals, they would actually be behaving in a more enlightened fashion if they pursued a degree of psychology and really figured out their machinery and what's making them do what they do. And this is something that I have repeated throughout our discussions all the way back when we were talking about habits. And I'm saying, well, why? Where's the emotional connection to want to change a habit? Does your survival depend on it? Because if not, then you're not going to change these things. So you have to have this awareness, one, that you have this machinery, and two, to figure out what that machinery is and how it's operating so that you can take the right actions.
Mm-hmm. So let me bring it more to everyday life. I had a
Mm-hmm.
session with someone a couple of days ago, and she said, my mind is very cluttered, I'm very unmotivated, and all of these things. So I talked about this inner conflict that we are facing. And after I explained to her, this is the system. The minute you tell everyone, because the ego mind always wants to think a issue or a problem, it's extremely individual. And I am the only one who's experiencing this dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
The minute you start telling them that, hey, look, this is not happening to you individually, collectively, we all coming with this mind, the brain and the ego, and this is what this machine does, and we are all facing this. It's a comfort and is a calmness that everyone else is also facing this dilemma. And yes, everyone, we all here sitting in the same class, we all experiencing. This is the lessons that we all have to go through. So the first step is, as soon as I know I'm not alone with this problem or issue, I'm feeling much more calmer. So the next step is, I said, okay, then I gave her this practice. I said, the night before, you're going to set your day for the day, but you realize that it's not about having a to-do list and how far you come along doing or finishing all those things. It's all about every task that you do, how concentrated and how fully present you are at doing that task. And once you start doing this task, whether it's writing an email or whatever you're doing, how present are you? And when those unease and uncomfortableness shows up, how able and capable are you to release that urge and continue on doing what you're doing? And then at the end of the day, instead of going through your task and measuring and seeing how many things you have done, you realize that, wow, when I did 3 tasks today, but I did them perfectly. And I practiced something much profound and bigger than I learned how to be fully present and finishing up one task fully and completely. And you pat yourself on the shoulder and say, I am so proud of you because you really done great. And you finish this and then the second one. And so this is what we rehearsed during the hour session that I had with her. The next step is I said, so what do you have on the paper? And she said, what do you mean by that? I said, what is the plan? What have you written down? And she says, oh, you mean my to-do list? I said, no, I'm not talking about your to-do list. I'm asking about your life. Is it written? Do you know exactly where do you want to go? What's the end game? And the majority of people don't have that. The majority of people think, oh, I have this 9 to 5 job, which I hate, and it's this and that. But that's not the whole picture. Once you realize the outcome and the end, at the end is how you designed your life. What is the end? What is it that you really love to do? And you make that, you bring that into the paper. So we break all of this down. That at the beginning she's confused about what is it that I really love to do? Who do I want to become in this process? Who am I? What's the personality? And then once we created that end line, and now I said, okay, let's right now feel that. And then who do I have to be to get to that end? And what are the personality traits that needs to change? What do I want to change? And then the next step is that we work on the personality. Who is this person who's achieving that end goal? And then she realized, oh, I'm doing this. I'm procrastinate. I said, okay, so that's inner the conflict. Let's get back to that again. And then we rehearse that. And then what's the next step? Oh, is when I'm doing this and this shows up. Okay, let's practice this inner conflict and learn and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse how to overcome that inner conflict, because it's not about what's going on out there. I mean, to you and I, it doesn't really matter what's the conflict between USA and Middle East, or what's the conflict between religion. That doesn't apply to me day to day. Right now, what's the most important? The bottom line is, who am I? Where do I want to go? And how do I overcome this inner conflict, the pain, or whatever that I think is stopping me right now to become who I want to be, and how to continue becoming this new personality, what traits I have to work, what do I need to strengthen, and that's how I achieve the end goals, and that's how I work on building the new personality. And this new personality is not confused, is not unclear, and it knows exactly how to overcome that inner conflict.
Well, what I get from a lot of what you're saying is, that a lot of people don't have structure. Another thing, when I am talking to people, I'll often have them look at their daily activities the way they might look at a diet. And I know that might sound a little bit silly, but if somebody isn't eating the way that they want to eat, often they'll be advised to write down everything they eat in a day. And the point is not to make yourself wrong. The point is not to beat yourself up. The point is to become aware. So again, we have this idea of awareness. And if you were to write down everything you eat in a day, every time you snack, you have a snack, you have an extra beverage, you have a snack, whatever, you write all that down. And then at the end of the day, it's not about like, okay, so how many calories is that? That's not really what we're trying to get to here. What we're trying to get to is for you to be aware that, like, wow, I didn't realize I walked into the kitchen this many times a day. I didn't realize that I had this many of this every day, or that I do this every day. And it becomes it's invisible because it's a habit. It's just you don't think about it anymore. And what you're saying, this internal conflict on, it seems to be more around what you want to be doing versus what's stopping you, then a lot of people don't write down all their activities the way that they might be advised to write down all of the food intake that they have each day. So I'll advise people to do that. I'll say, look, go for a week, and over the course of a week, just write down every day what you're doing. And when you are working on your business or you're at work, if you just have a job, you're at work, right? Hey, I'm at work. Cool. Right on. Write down when you were focused, when you weren't focused, when you were taking your breaks. And then I was commuting, I was getting ready for work, I was, unwinding. Okay, well, what's unwinding? Are you eating dinner? Are you reading a book? Are you watching TV? Are you on social media? Every time you pick up that phone, and again, it's getting that awareness so that you can see what you're doing. And what you'll recognize is that there are different kind of ways that the day shows up for you. And sometimes, like if you're at work, you got to be focused on work. That's a certain kind of focus that you've got to deal with at that moment. And then when you pick up your phone and you're looking at social media, there's nothing wrong with it inherently. There's nothing wrong. That's why we like it, with picking it up, getting caught up. Who in your life is up to what? We follow people. We want to see what they're doing. And then we put our own little posts out there of what we're up to. And if we're aware of it to some degree, I'm not a rigid structure person. I have never been, and I most likely never will be, because it occurs to me as painful. It occurs to me as ultimate pain to have a very rigid structure to my day. I like to have structure. I don't like to not have a plan. So my pleasure is somewhere, my comfort is somewhere between having a plan, but having a lot of flexibility with that plan. But some people need to be like, wake up at this time, do this at that time, do this at that time, even if it's something like checking your social media and saying you've got 10 minutes from 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. You've got 10 minutes, get on social media and then get off. And so again, when you kind of look at the activities of your life over the course of a week, like a diet, you might start to realize, like, wow, I thought I was doing all these important things with my life, and I'm just wasting a lot of time. I'm just, goofing off and doing stuff that's really unimportant. And then, I've got work, I've got to deal with work. And then, but these goals that I've set, these things that my heart's really after, like, I'm not doing anything towards them at all. I'm not spending 1% of my time. And the reason why this can be very important is because, like within a diet, you can tell somebody it's not necessarily what you eat, it's how you eat. What you eat is clearly important. Eating vegetables is a lot different than eating chocolate cake. We know this.
Jeff, I want to interrupt you for a second. Let's stick with the conflict, because I believe today everyone had the knowledge what's the right food category and what's not. I mean, it's not, maybe 30 years ago, we didn't know that sugar is not good for us, or we didn't know that too much carbohydrate. So let's stay with the inner conflict.
Sure. Well,
the majority of people know what's the right food to eat and what's the right thing to do. So let's stick to the topic. That's the inner conflict.
Well, I like to draw comparisons that I think people are familiar with. The reason why I bring up food is exactly why you said it, because people do know it so well. And so when we're talking about something like analyzing your life and your behaviors and your activities, that might seem like a foreign concept to people. And so I'm bringing in the food analogy because I want people to understand that it's all about awareness. It's about that's why what I was saying is it's not always about what you eat. It's about how you eat. Are you just snacking mindlessly versus making meals intentionally?
We're talking
And
about two different things,
we're
Jeff.
not. So
Stay
with
with
your
me.
day,
Stay with
no,
me.
stay
So
with,
we're on the
let me
same page.
finish. I'm getting there. Let me finish. So when you get to the how you structure your week and how you structure your day, you can analyze, well, I thought that I was doing these important things, but what I realized was that I was wasting time doing all this little distractions. And then at the end of the day, you beat yourself up. And that brings it back to the conflict. So what you can do is you could say, if you are living life that way, you start to say, well, if you categorize in larger categories what it is that you're after. You're saying, I want to open this business. My dream is to pursue this goal. Then it becomes less about the tasks and more about saying, I'm going to carve out time and I'm going to stick to that to pursue that. Whatever tasks you do, it doesn't matter, because then you're going to get satisfaction that you have moved towards that target, and you're going to reward yourself emotionally at the end of the day. You might say, hey, look, I didn't get all of these tasks done, but I moved towards my target. I moved towards my goal, and you're not going to make yourself wrong, and it's going to ease that conflict.
Mhm. So let's get back to what I was saying. We're talking about inner conflict, right? So you mentioned about food. I'm saying that I know what's the right food for me to eat, but I don't. That's the conflict that we're talking about. So do you have a tools? Like when I know that is better for me and I plan my whole week and I did my shopping, grocery shopping and that stuff. And I told myself I'm going to be on a keto diet and I can't eat any rice or I can't eat any carbs or anything like that. But when I'm coming, although I prepared it and it's ready and blah, 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 I don't want to eat that chicken and salad. I feel more like having a peanut butter sandwich. So this is the conflict. So do you have a tool, like when I'm coming up with facing this inner conflict, what I should do?
Yeah, there's a couple things. I mean, one is you can set a target of discipline, and that there's a degree of commitment required from people. I mean, the tool is commitment, and I can't give it to you. I can tell you about it, but you have to
Then
find
that's
it.
not a tool. A tool is like here's the deal. Like I said, okay, I understand there's a inner conflicts and we all have that and we all facing that. So what I'm doing right now, the tool is knowing this conflict is going to be there. I'm already ready. No, I know that the machine, the thinking machine and the ego, that's how it's operating, right? So knowing that, I tell that thinking machine or my ego, I know that you would much rather browse the internet, but let's set up a 10-minute rule that I tell myself and I tell my ego mind for 10 minutes, I set the clock, 10 minutes, I'm going to focus on this task. And when this 10 minutes, the clock went on, okay, maybe I can, that's the tool. I'm looking for things like this, that the follower know, okay, when I'm facing this inner conflict, what can I do?
Even that, even though that occurs as a tool, if you aren't committed to it, I would say what's important is to, if you're looking for something physical, because a lot of what I'm talking about is occurring here, it's occurring up here.
Right.
So you're saying, well, if a tool is occurring as a physical object, which to me, a tool can be anything, but if a tool is occurring as a physical object, then that's where I would break out the pen and paper, or open a note, have a folder on your computer where you have notes on your life, and write down what it is that you want to actually be doing with your life, like setting these goals, and write down all the reasons why you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you have these moments, if you can train yourself to do this, it's all if you can train yourself to do this, is that when you're feeling distracted, go and write down all the things that are making you feel distracted, because it is about that awareness. And if we start to adopt that habit of stacking, we want to stack the emotional odds in our favor. So when you want to do something, you write down all of the reasons why you want to do it. You're trying to tie all of this emotion to it. So then when your ego steps in and says, you can't do this, or do this instead, go browse the internet, the emotion kicks in and goes, wait a minute, we really wanted to do this. You know, because it's going to require that emotion to actually take that action. So if you're saying, I want to move to another country, I have a friend who is leaving and moving to another country in a month. And in her mind, it's for the rest of her life. You know, she's going to spend the rest of her life in this other country. That's a huge action. But that your ego mind is going to step in and say, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, here's all the reasons. So she's got to stack that emotion like, well, no, I can hear my mind, but write down and make it real all of the things that emotionally are attached to that experience of going.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do feel like you're getting stopped and distracted, well, wait a minute. I'm browsing the internet. I need to get my plane ticket. I'm browsing the internet. I need to look for work over there. Wherever, like it's all of those things that you have to get back to the reason why you wanted to do something in the first place. So it's very important to write down why you want to pursue the things you want to pursue and take the actions you want to take.
I got it. So basically, the tool is connect that to the feeling of what am I going to get and achieve by not being distracted right now, but sticking to what I'm supposed to do. So you what you're saying is connected to the feeling that you get once that task is done and finished. So we have to constantly connect that to the end game and to the feeling. So we have to keep creating that feeling now. So that's a great tool.
One
Now,
other tool there I wanted to add is if you really want to stack the odds in your favor, write down, and this is something that you see done in marketing all the time, and I see a lot of coaches using this technique, is you write down how your life's going to be if you don't take that action, and you stack the pain. That's you're stacking the discomfort.
right.
Well, what if I don't move towards my goal? Well, then I'm just going to be right where I'm at, and I'm never going to achieve my hopes and dreams, and I'm never going to this is never going to happen. And you start making a pretty unhappy, uncomfortable picture around where your life's going to stay and be if you don't take those steps. So you add all of this, all the reasons and love and positivity and benefit from why you want to do something, and then you attach the pain, the negativity, the unhappiness, the discomfort to not taking that action. Those are two things that
So
you can write.
that's the old Tony Robbins pain and pleasure thing to
Yeah,
use.
it is.
Yeah,
He was a big fan of that. He was a big fan of that.
yeah,
But
pain
people
and
still use it though.
yeah,
People still use it to this day.
yeah,
There are coaches out there all over the place using that to this day.
yeah, yeah. So that so basically, if you want to put this step by step, we're going to start by number one, know and understand you're going to be facing the conflict. The conflict is there. The conflict is the tool that the mind ego uses to stop you not to do what is good for you. Number one, knowing and understanding that there's going to be a conflict, and we're all sitting in the same class. Step two is you have to find out what's the end game. Like if I'm becoming a plastic surgeon, right? At the end of the game, I'm becoming a plastic surgeon and seeing and facing and experiencing and feeling how it is when you're working on someone's face, when you're operating on someone's face and making them beautiful. That's the end. The next step is you sit and really feel that and experience that and live that. Once you get that good feeling, that amazing feeling, now you have to hold that amazing feeling with you and don't lose the sight of it. So the step three is now you're going to break this down step by step. What's the first step? I got to go to university. I got to do this and that. And now every step that you're taking, you have a plan for your day, and you know exactly what the plan is, a step by step. First thing, I wake up in the morning. So in order for me to become that plastic surgeon, who do I have to be? Am I someone who's allowing my mind ego to take over, make me distracted constantly? Or that end person, my dream role, is someone who really works on the mind and the ego and is not allowing the mind ego do its job, which is constantly distracting me. So therefore, probably the first step is when I wake up, I probably connect to the universe, and then I know that I'm not alone and the universe is with me and is backing me up. The second step is I do a 5-minute meditation to quiet myself down and to see the end game and to create that feeling of joy and happiness and satisfaction. And I probably have written down my daily task, and the goal is not finish 20 things a day. The goal is that I'm fully concentrating on each task, and as I'm doing it, when the distraction comes, I know and I understand that this is the inner conflict. It's not outside, it's inner. And I work on that inner conflict. I chat with my mind ego, and I keep reminding my mind ego, right now at this moment, we need to concentrate. And in order for you guys to overcome the monkey mind and the ego, you have to set up your day somehow that there is plenty of everything. You have to stick some fun in there. There's nothing wrong with social media if you're using it correctly. Allow yourself to browse on social media, but not first thing in the morning. You tell your ego mind, I'm not going to touch my phone. I'm not going to, browse the internet or whatever. I'm going to do the most important task and probably the hardest one, and the one that I hate to do, I'm going to put it on top of my list. And as a bonus, after I did that, I probably can browse social media for 10 minutes. Set up a clock for 10 minutes. Tell your ego mind, we did great for 2 hours. We concentrated and we did this task that I really hated. And then give yourself a 10 minutes of social media. Then you tell your ego mind, okay, the 10 minutes is over. We're going to spend another hour or 2 hours getting fully concentrate and doing the next task that we really don't like to do. And once we finish that, we give ourselves a break again, whatever it is for you. I don't know if you want to watch a 10 minutes movie or something, you set up a clock again that you're having fun doing something 10 minutes. So don't take away all the pleasure, because if you do that and you make your day a really boring task making all day long, you're not going to survive for a long time. You need to put as much enjoyment, 30 minutes walk outside or swimming or whatever you like, and put everything into your plan. Things that you love to do, things that you hate to do. And by this, you come up with a combination that you have everything. That is not so rigid and boring that you just like, oh, what's the meaning of life anyway? Because if you be too hard on yourself and make your day and you force yourself to stick to all these dry tasks, at the end, you're going to say, what's the meaning of life? I'm here to have fun and play and enjoy myself. So that's my thought on it, Jeff. Back to you.
Yeah, no, I would kind of put a bow on it kind of the same way that, when you are moving in the general direction, that's why I said earlier, like, I like to have a plan, but I don't want it to be rigid. That's just for me. Everybody's going to be different. Everybody requires their life to be set up a different way. So as long as I am moving in the general direction that I want to move, then I'm not going to beat myself up. And again, and I know you didn't like this, but I'm going to bring the diet back in. It's like, as long as you're sticking to a general lifestyle of your diet, your exercise, and you're living the way that you generally want to live, then you're not going to beat yourself up and make yourself wrong and have that conflict if you have a cheat day or if you grab a snack or whatever. You're going to say, you know what? I live an overall lifestyle that I want to live. And so same thing with the way that you are pursuing your goals and you're structuring your activities is, like you said, plan all of your fun time. And that's cool. If you need that level of structure in your life where you need to bust out a calendar, set a timer, and have that rigid of a framework, then do it. Because some people need that much structure. And as long as you're kind of moving, again, towards your goals, you're taking the actions you want to take, you're making the things happen in your life that you want to make happen, then, for me, it might just be like, well, I don't know, I've got a couple hours free here and I'm just going to go do whatever. It's not really planned what I'm going to do. I just know that for a couple hours, I'm just going to let my mind decompress and not think about anything or whatever.
Yeah, because a lot of time a lot of my session is about I am procrastinate. And I said, what is it that you're procrastinating? What is in your list? And what happens is I notice that a lot of people don't really have any plans. They don't really know what is it that they want to do. And they keep saying that, oh, I can keep on and finish up the task. But what is the task, right? So basically is we are feeling human beings. We want to feel good. And if you, like you said, if we connect the end good feeling to what you're doing right now, then you can stick to it and you can do it longer. So let's open up to Q&A. Guys, you can send in your questions or your comments. Let us know if this has been helping you out. Do you think that, do you know another tool that you use that you think it has really helped you out? Write to us, guys. Let us know what you think and what is your issue, or have you tried any of these and what's up? Yeah, so yeah, we gotta have fun, guys. We have to learn somehow to make things fun. So how can you make things, how could you change the way you look at something? Like when you're writing, when you're going to do a task and you feel like, oh my God, this is so boring. Are you able to change the way you're looking at that thing? Like, let's say that you want to lose weight, but you hate exercising. How could you make exercise to be the most fun? I want to know about conflicts of. Arsalan is asking, I want to know about conflicts of what? Can you read Arsalan's comments?
Let me look for it.
Huh? I'm going to pin it so you can read it, Jeff. Conflict of interests. Do you want to respond to that?
Where is it? Where did you put it?
I pinned it and I removed it. So let me respond back to him. So Arsalan, conflict of interest, right? So what I'm understanding is you have a goal, you're interested on doing something or taking an action towards a goal that you have, and that's your interest, but there is a conflict that's interfering with you taking the daily action to become that. And I already talked about it. Let me know if I have been clear enough. Let's use the 10 minutes rules, right? You look at the end, who do you want to become? You want to become the master, for instance, in social media, right? So what's the really end? At the end of the whole thing, what is it that you want? Once you're clear that you want to become a master in social media and you want to have a company, you want to have 20 people working for you, and you want to have 100 accounts per month. Let's suppose this is your outcome at the end, right? So now you want to get that, feel that, live that, make the feeling, create the feeling once you see that end result and goal, and hold on to the feeling, and then have that feeling with you the whole time. And then we said, now you need to ask yourself, who is the person or the personality who achieved that end goal? Then you look at your personality and see what your mind ego has created so far for you. What are the attributes of this character? What is it that you love about this character? You want to enhance that. You want to make it even more. And what are the traits that it's stopping, or you don't like it, or is the parts that you're not okay with, and you want to change those. So it's a game of every day. I'm putting up more the parts that I love, and the parts that I feel that I dislike. How can I change it to become more favorable for me to become that person who's going to achieve the end goal, right? And then every day you have a to-do list. And then your to-do list is telling you, the way you set it up, what is it that is the hardest and you hate doing it. You put that first thing in the morning. And once you sit down to do that, you know already that you have this inner conflict. It's your mind ego. Your inner conflict, the monkey mind, gets bored very easily. Knowing that, you tell your ego mind that I'm going to set up a clock for 60 minutes, or maybe at the beginning, 40 minutes. And for 40 minutes, we're going to concentrate fully to do this. We're going to turn off the phone. We're going to turn off all the distraction. 40 minutes, we're going to do this. And then after this 40 minutes, you got 10 minutes. And then you do whatever your ego mind loves to do, whether it's to browse the internet, whether it's to run, whether it's to jog, whatever it is. You give it, you keep switching. Something that I really hate to do, I'll do it first. As a bonus, I'm going to get 10 minutes, 20 minutes to have fun and do something that I love. Then you get back again, an hour of something that is really important and needs to get done. And then you give yourself another bonus 10 minutes, 20 minutes on doing something that you hate to do. Was that clear, Arsalan? Jeff, do you want to add something to it?
Sure. I mean, also just because just in the language of conflict of interest, because that's what I had heard, that um, that's a lot of what we were talking about today, the internal conflict of getting things accomplished. But also, a conflict of interest could occur in a workplace, and I think that a lot of times you have to refocus what the big picture, the micro and the macro. The macro is the big picture. So if you're in a work situation, then there might be, it's like you're at this job for a reason. You're pursuing this career for a reason. You're doing something for a reason. And then somewhere in there might be an activity that is not what you want to do. Now, at that point, it becomes an evaluation of the micro of, is this just something that I don't want to do because it doesn't occur as fun? Or is it something that is not in line with my beliefs and values? That, to me, when I hear the word conflict of interest, that's a little bit how I feel about it. Like, let's say you have a moral conflict of interest. That's also an internal conflict. And, I've had careers where, I worked in an industry where I worked for an organization. I loved the work that I did, but sometimes there was an element to conducting business that I did not agree with. And so there's that conflict of interest of, well, what do I do? Do I kind of see this through, or do I stand my ground? And there is no right or wrong across, generally speaking. What you have to do is, in the moment when you have that conflict of interest, you have to look at the big picture and say, if I do this, is it going to really negatively affect me or my relationship in this endeavor? And you have to look at your values and beliefs, and you have to make a decision. You have to make a choice if pursuing this activity is really gonna upset you in how you feel about life.
Mm-hmm. So we got another question. I'm not very disciplined, and I used to think it either. So basically, honey, what you're noticing right now is that you're listening to your ego mind that is telling you that you are not very disciplined. Is this really true? Is this who you are? Or is it something that your ego mind is creating and telling you? And you kept on listening to that voice, and now you became a believer, and your ego has put this sticker on you that you're not very disciplined. So what I need to do right now is that, when I look at myself, I'm not really who I am. I'm not authentically being myself. Why? Because I let ego mind to put so many stickers on me. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're a procrastinator. You're not disciplined. These are all the stickers. And if you continue on letting your ego mind telling you the same thing, you're going to end up with the same result. So how about right now you come to yourself and say, wait a minute, that's not who I am. Who is telling me that I don't have discipline? You realize it's your ego mind. And now you make a decision that you are not that. And who are you really? You are someone who has discipline, who knows exactly what she wants, and she knows the end game, and she has the feeling, that amazing good feeling, and she creates that amazing feeling a mission somewhere that you're going. The majority of time when someone said, I don't have discipline, what I find out is they don't really know the end game. They don't really know what they're after. If you don't know what's the real end game, who do you want to be? What do you want to create? And you don't have that feeling connected to it. And if you're not living that good feeling satisfaction day after day, you're not clear about where you're going. Yes, Jeff?
You know, another thing that you can do, and this seems kind of counterintuitive, but you can thank your ego, you know, because what you're,
Mm-hmm.
as we said in the very, very, very beginning, you know, that your ego is trying to keep you safe. Survival, right? Your body, your mind is trying to keep you alive. It's trying to keep you alive. It's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to keep you comfortable. So, you know, it seems kind of backwards, but you can thank it. That's one way to quiet your mind down a little bit. Say, hey, you know what? I heard you. You're not good enough. You can't do this, all this stuff. You could say, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for telling me all those things because I know you're concerned with keeping me safe. And you know what? I still got this. And
Mm-hmm.
it changes the relationship. So all of a sudden, instead of feeling like you're at odds, like, I don't want to hear from my ego mind that's going to beat me up, you say, look, I get it. You want to keep me safe. I get it. You want to keep me comfortable. Thank you for that. I got this. I'm going to do this anyway.
Yeah. And yeah, I know that you get bored very easily, but I tell you what, we're gonna concentrate on doing this task for an hour, and then we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have fun. We're gonna do something so you get over your boredom. Yeah, 10 minutes rule, Arsalan, really works. Just set up your clock for 10 minutes. Yeah, you can set up your day, honey, and the night before you sit down for 20 minutes and you say, look at the end game, right? Where am I going? Keep looking at the end game and then keep creating the feeling once you achieve that and once you become that. Then you're going to start writing the next day, your task. What are you going to do? And then, as you know by now, the hardest task, something fun, the hardest task that I hate to do, something fun, break it down so you make your day more interesting. Your ego mind doesn't get so bored that doesn't want to do it. And then, yeah. So basically, when you do this and you keep imagining the end game and creating that good feeling, then you can continue on doing this. It's the same thing. You can use this recipe for anything. But I'm saying it's really important the end at the end of the end, because I see this every day doing private coaching session. What is the end? Oh, I like to become an actress. Okay, what is the end? Just feeling that I want to become an actress, or seeing myself that I'm getting the trophy, I'm becoming nominated for the best actor or best actors. You really have to see clearly the end and the feeling. So, what else? What are the questions? I think 10 minutes rule will, yeah, the 10 minutes rule will help, especially if you set up a clock and you get used to it, and you know, you don't have to keep looking to see, is it 5 minutes? Is it 6 minutes? Just buy a cheap clock that after 10 minutes it goes beep, like the old fashioned, timer.
Or use your phone. I mean, phones, I mean, it's like if you're trying to get away from your device, I get it. And, you know, every phone's going to have a little clock app and you can set a timer.
Arsalan said one more thing that I have heard. It takes 21 days. Yeah, that's the old rule. It takes 21 days to create a habit or to break a habit. Something that I talked about a couple of weeks ago, Arsalan, was that when we're doing things as a routine, day after day after day, it becomes a habit, right? After a while, your physical body becomes its own brain. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is I wake up every morning. I set up the coffee machine the night before. When I wake up in the morning, I pour the water, the coffee is ready. I have done that years after years. So by now, I don't need my brain to tell me what to do because my physical body already became a brain and automatically will walk, knows how many steps to the coffee machine, and is doing that. In order for you to break a habit, you have to change your daily routine. What is the first thing you do in the morning? For instance, for me, is to put on the coffee. Now that I know my physical body is so used to that, I need to change that habit by probably not turning on the coffee machine, is to walking out and walking around the block for 10 minutes. And then the next thing is I want to put the coffee and I tell myself, let me take a shower. I take a 5 minute shower, then I put the coffee. So you have to constantly change your daily routines so it doesn't become a habit. You need to break the physical habit, the mental habit, and the emotional habit. And constantly, what always works is the emotion that we connect to it. So, for instance, I'm addicted to that first coffee in the morning. Now that I'm aware of it, I tell myself, but imagine that new personality that you want to become, who has overcome his mind and ego and all the habits, how great it is not to put that first cup of coffee and go walk for 10 minutes. And then when I come back, I said, that was amazing. I managed to not do the daily things and the routine. And then I said, let me take a 5 minute shower. How amazing is that, that I'm breaking all these habits and I'm getting closer to become that personality who has overcome his mind, his habit, his belief, and all that.
Yeah, and I think that with that, as we've said multiple times, it's the emotion that you attach to the outcome. And often there are, you keep talking about, well, who do you have to be? Who do you have to be? And in that, when you say who do you have to be, you start setting some higher levels, some elevated goals for your life. And it's funny because we start looking at the concept of coffee and when do you make your coffee? And a lot of people, they do get that habit of waking up, turning on the coffee machine. Well, for me, living a healthy life, like that's who I am. That's who I'm being. I am being a healthy person. I am being somebody that is concerned with my physical health. So when I learn that drinking coffee, the very first thing when you wake up, is not good because your body produces cortisol, which is what's waking you up. And then when you drink coffee, very first thing, it actually shuts down your body's natural cortisol production, which is why people end up feeling groggy and need their coffee because you've told your body, I've got this chemical, I don't need you to produce it. The second I found that out, it was like, it's better if you wait a couple hours. Even if you wait 1 hour, it's
Mhm.
better. Well, because I live life being a healthy person, it's easy to change that habit. It is overnight that I can change that habit to stop making coffee right when I wake up and wait an hour or two before drinking it. Because the harder habit to change would be the one to not be a healthy person. It's so everything's in line with being that healthy person. That habit, done, easy, because there's so much emotion attached to being a physically healthy person.
Mhm. Do you want to read the moral um, comments or question?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
My feed is frozen.
Oh, is
All
it?
these things that you've been reading, they're not there. Like everything, my feed totally froze. So, so
So let me see if I pin her comment, if you can read it. Can you see it now?
no,
Oh,
no, I can't see
okay.
anything.
So she said, when I was younger, every time I felt I need to lose few pounds, I used to go and buy pretty dresses, smaller size. But now I feel like I've been punished. It's my punishment.
The smaller dresses are the punishment.
Um, Now I feel, no, she's saying the way she has a different views now. Like when
Mm,
she was younger, she would say, okay, I'm going to buy a smaller size dress,
hmm
and that would be her motivator
hmm
to eat right and to exercise and to do all this thing. But now when she thinks about um, like if she thinks that I have to go and buy a smaller size, she feels like I'm being punished. It's a punishment. She doesn't have that drive. She doesn't have the same frame of mind as before.
Well, I think that we should have a threshold because I've done the same thing. I mean, I've gone through, fluctuations in my body over my life. And there are times where when I was at like my fittest, I'd go buy a pair of pants and they would fit wonderfully. And then one day they're a little tight. So there's an option. You got to make a choice. You got to say, well, I've hit threshold. I've literally I've hit a physical threshold. I've hit the physical comfort of those pants. That's a threshold. So I have to make a choice. I have to say, well, am I going to go out and buy new pants or have these ones, tailored, or am I going to diet and exercise? And it's not like it's critical, it's like, oh, maybe I just wasn't exercising as much over the last kind of couple of weeks. I've been distracted or consumed with other things. Maybe I've been letting my diet slip. I've been eating too much of this or that or the other. So sometimes it's just a little bit of tailoring to kind of get back in line. I think that if we set these thresholds, and you can do it in your mind, or you could pull out a pen and paper and write them down and say, I think that for people to have a target weight is maybe not the best. You could say, well, you set your target weight, but you say, well, I want a range. And I'm going to allow myself this range because I know my body's going to fluctuate. So, it's if you're going to, you don't want to punish yourself. That's not helpful because that's what we were talking about in the beginning. You're beating yourself up, you're making yourself wrong, and that's not helpful. It's more helpful to say, like we're talking about, attach all of the positive emotions to just living the life that you want. You're going to live the life that you want to live, and then say, well, in order for my body to be at this weight, here's all of the things that's going to give me. It's going to make it available for me to have these kinds of activities, do these kinds of things, wear these kinds of clothes. And if I don't, then I'm not mindful of it. I'm not aware of it. And I'm kind of letting things just do what they do. So that's the thing, is don't beat yourself up. Don't punish yourself. It's nothing in
Okay.
there.
So let me come up with this because I'm feeling as I'm tuning into your body, what's up? Um, we have different layers of emotions. When you were younger, you were happier. There weren't so many obstacles around you. There weren't so many things that was bothering you and pulling you down. So it was much easier to get excited about losing weight and getting into that smaller size of dress. Right now, your emotions are lower. So let's say 100 is a happy, happy, happy feeling mode. 70, 80, 50. 0 is depression, manic depression. You have changed from that higher up boost of happiness and joy and youth, and you're coming lower. You're closer to depression because there are so many things in your life right now that's going wrong, and you feel helpless. You want to change them, but you're not able to do it. It feels like it's not in your hand, right? Because of that, right now, when you think the same thing when you were younger, now it's a punishment. Now, even losing weight is another weight, is another heaviness, is another boredom. That's why it feels like punishment. So, right now, your issue is not about comparing yourself to when you were younger, because you're not there. You emotionally, you have changed. Your energy is denser now, heavier, and things are not going your way, and you feel hopeless and helpless because you cannot change them. So your goal is not now about your weight, because I always said that. I said, if you're gaining 10 pounds, maximum 20 pounds, it could be the wrong diet, the wrong exercise, blah, blah. But more than that, it's all emotions. You're holding on to so many emotions that unpleasant, and you feel helpless. You don't know what to do with them and how to release them. So if you wish, Lovey, we can have a private coaching session together to get deeper into this, because this is not your dilemma right now. Your size and your weight, it's not. It's deeper issues, and the deeper issues are, what can I do with all these things around me that I can't change them? Okay, do you want to add something to this, Jeff? We're going to end the live. Do you want to say?
Yeah, I think I'm good actually.
Mm.
I
Okay.
I don't have any final words.
Okay, great. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for being here. As usual, thank you, Jeff, for doing the join live with me. We probably do another join live with Jeff this coming Thursday. He's going to pick the topic. He's very good at picking up interesting topics. And then until I'm going to see you guys Tuesdays. Tuesday, you're going to meet an amazing girl. She's only 21 years old. She spent her entire young life into meditations and awakening and mindfulness. She also reads tarot. So Tuesday at 10 a.m., we're going to be with her. It's the first time you're going to meet her, and I'm sure you're going to love her. Thank you so much for being. Don't forget, as usual, write comments, loads of them. I want all of you guys, each of you guys, to write at least 50, 100 comments, because my goal is to reach 500 comments underneath each live. And whoever sign up on my YouTube English channel, Sudi Burnett English, will receive a gift from us, CDs, DVDs, or whatever you wish. Happy rest of your Sundays, and thank you for all of you who wish me happy birthday. My birthday is actually tomorrow, but thank you so much. Love and blessing. Bye-bye.